in a month in which I published like only a whopping 12 episodes and did zero promotion, no readathons, I got 340 reads, 340 reads with about 70% unlocks. So considering that's probably mostly organic, I'll take it. I'll take what I got. We'll see how it pans out. But I basically focused just on updating 2 or 3 of my Vellas this month, and was pretty low key about things. I did start doing other non-Vella stuff to diversify too, of course. That's part of the reason I didn't do as much on Vella.
Well, yeah.
Which, by the way, I don't know if you guys saw this, but it is really universal, the disappointment that people have about October. And I saw a lot of rumblings, some publishing companies that are not necessarily legit, that are somewhat shady, that are trying to take advantage of Vella. There's one in particular that a lot of Vella authors are talking about called Horizon, that they say is publishing a whole bunch of crap, just throwing it on there.
And well, the other thing that Horizon is doing is they've created a back door for foreign writers. What you do is they create an American account, and then you're like because I'm reading people on Vella, and they're actively saying they're from the Philippines, they're from Malaysia, they're from it's mostly Asian and like Pacific Islander authors.
Yeah. So what's interesting about that is like we saw the biggest jump in the pot of royalties since Vella started, I think, because they raised it like 125,000. It was at least 100,000 between September and October. So for us to all see such a drop in our royalties after they raise it that much, that says something. And to me, like, I just did a little comparison of numbers, and I went from, in October, I had 75% of the reads I had from September, but I only had a little over a third of the royalties that I got in September. So like that is really kind of a damning, and it'll be interesting. I don't think Amazon is going to be able to be successful unless they react to this in some way, because there are a lot of demotivated writers out there that I've noticed. And if that's hurting us, by the way, I'm sure it's hurting some of the writers in the more successful categories too. And I don't know. I think psychologically, I don't think it matters in a sense how well you're like. Even let's say I'm getting 3,000 a month in reads, and then I see a hit to my royalties like that. That's really demotivating. Unless you're like in the literally top tier of the cream of the crop, and you're making buku bucks anyway, I think it's going to demotivate a lot of. I think they're going to get a lot less content going forward unless they fix this.
There's definitely a lot of people who are talking about maybe not necessarily leaving Vella, but doing what we're going to be talking about later, which is diversifying our IP. At this point, this is where the fellowship is on the razor, because at this point, if they don't do what you said, which is react to this, they are going to lose a lot of people. Now, is that necessarily a bad thing? No, but the problem is they're going to lose people who understand their own value, and those typically are the better authors, the ones who've worked a while, been in the industry a while, know the business side of writing. These are going to be the people that leave, and the people that stay behind are going to be the not so skilled, the not so experienced. We're going to lose a lot of potential quality, and when the overall quality of Vella goes down, then the reputation's going to go into the toilet. At that point, and it will die if something isn't done, and it'll die within the next year or two if things don't turn around. That's my prediction.
All right, so numbers. Anyone else want to share numbers?
For November. And again, I did diddly in November, other than updating some old ones and starting Rift Truckers. So I had 221 reads, and 179 of those were unlocks. So I don't. That means
That's a very high percentage. It means that you got a lot of organics, and people are coming back and reading the whole thing.
A screaming $5 for royalties, so it should be an interesting tiny check. But oh well.
Well, so I put myself in an early grave this month, and I wound up with 1,172 reads to 612 unlocks, and so I'm barely over 50% on the unlocks. I'm like 50 or some odd unlocks over 50%. So what that tells me is I'm having to hustle for every one of these. You guys are seeing organic reads, and I'm having to drag people onto my page and like hold a gun to their head while they read the first 3 chapters. You know. I also released, I tried to do 100. I would have done 100 if it weren't for those kids and that mangy dog. But no, so what happened was some of my stuff got frozen up again. You know, Johnny on the spot. I'm missing 27 chapters.
Wow.
Yeah, they're being held up indefinitely, and every time I try to fix something, it's not. So I would have actually published. I did 72. If I'd had the 27, I would have had 99. I would have almost had 100. So my goal this month was 1,000 reads, 500 unlocks, and 100 chapters. And I hit the first two. Yeah, I hit the first two, but the second one fell short because of these ongoing issues.
Right.
But I don't know what my check is going to look like this time. If it's not at least 50% of my overall reads, then I have to start considering alternatives to Vella. There is no choice. I have to at least be making 500 a month with my writing. And Vella is right now, because I've put kind of all of my eggs in this one basket. I mean, it has to be Vella. And if I'm not making it here, then I've got to put it somewhere else. And really this month, I'm going to be moving to a couple of different platforms, as many as I can manage. Just trying to get my work out to, as many people as I possibly can.
Yeah, I talked to somebody else who had, I think, like 1,500 reads in October, and they had like less than $500 in royalties, so like a third.
Yeah, that's what I got, was a third.
That kind of tracks, I think, with what we experienced for the most part.
Now, in my, in defense of what I got, I did look at the previous month's numbers, and I think the fact that I put out 100 new episodes, or 100 plus new episodes, actually is the only reason why I got a third. I think I would have actually done worse than that if I hadn't put out so much content.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So that's a scary thought. If I'm going to have to put out 100 episodes every month just to make halfway decent bank, then yeah, that's not sustainable.
No.
Not over a long period of time. I'm taking December off. I'm doing basically what you guys did last month. I'm going to do this month because I mean, I don't have a whole lot left in the tank right now.
I hear you. Well, yeah, I like, and that's one reason I've started to do contests. I sent Gail an example of a contest I submitted for, and I think I'm going to treat it sort of like, when you like are well, not that you guys would know this because it's been years since you've been out of the job market, but just like, when you want a job, you send out like 100 job applications. What I find frustrating about a lot of these contests and submissions is like, oh, we'll get back to you in 3, 5, 6 months, whenever we feel like it. So I'm going to start just throwing out enough of them to where, maybe things will trickle in. And, I just hate that waiting game. And that's why I so am, I'm so, missing the fact that Vella is not being more successful, because that immediate feedback and to the idea of like, oh, I'm going to get my royalty check next month instead of waiting once a year to get my royalty check. It's been such a joy these last, 7 to 10 months.
It's felt like we're actually working writers. You know, because if you think about it, a writer is always unemployed until they're under contract. And really, when they're under contract, they're not working for anything. They're working that moment that the check is cut, that split second is when we're actually employed. And then the moment the check is handed to us, we're unemployed again. So, I mean, we're never efficient. Now it feels like we're on somebody's payroll.
Yeah.
It feels like we're on Amazon's payroll. And we're, you know, even though we're only getting that monthly check, a lot of people are saying the same thing. That's my groceries, that's my light bill, that's my this. You know, we're all talking the same thing. And it's the excitement and the pride of knowing that we're making at least part of our yearly income based on what we're doing here. Amazon has an opportunity right now to create an entire legion of bloodthirsty zealots, you know, people willing to die for Amazon if they will just make it so that we're seeing enough from our hard work to warrant, you know, staying on their platform. And if they, you know, eventually the people will come, but they have to be willing to stay the course, and they have to be willing to, you know, supplement that income until royalties can be the main source of our, you know, our incomes. I mean, I think I've made since April, I think I've made like a total of $110 in royalties, which is great. You know, if you don't do anything, if you don't market or anything like that. But I mean, with all the work I'm putting into Vella right now, hang on one second. My mic just went out on me a little bit there. There we go. For all the work I'm putting in, I should be seeing thousands. And, you know, and we're not the only people. You talk about the top tier. There is a top tier person who is who's on the Facebook forums. She's in Vella bragging rights quite a bit. She was expecting a $3,000 month, and she got 1,400. And this woman's crushing it. Yeah. I mean, she is absolutely crushing it. And she got half of what she was expecting, which if you look at it almost across the board, everybody's saying, I got about half of what I was expecting. And I'm like, well, aren't you lucky? I only got a third of what I was expecting. And, you know, and again, since we don't know what the numeric values are for each type thing, we have no idea what to do. But I do notice this. I see that the people that are getting a high percentage of their unlocks to their total reads, like if you're hitting like 60 or 70%, you're probably making a lot more than like somebody like me who's just barely over 50%.
Did you guys see I don't know if you saw on the Vella forums, they did do an October announcement about bonuses where they very vaguely said, okay, this is what contributes to the size of your royalties.
No, I did not see that.
I don't know how much credence to give that because it was a relatively general statement. But I'll send that to you guys in case you're curious. And it's like, I don't know if you know, Katie Sam is one of the forum moderators who answers a lot of questions, and she does a really good job usually. But anyway, she said something about, I just thought it was interesting what she didn't mention. So when she was talking about what went into October royalties, she did not mention likes, like episode likes at all. I don't know if
I've never felt like that was anything.
Yeah. So that's just an interesting subnote, because I remember there was a time when I thought likes maybe made a difference, but I'm starting to think that that's not.
Oh, that would be visibility. That would be a foolish thing on Amazon's part, because the people that have no skin in the game, the non-writers, when they come on to Vella, a lot of them don't hit buttons. That's how I know when I'm getting organic reads, because I'll see my number of likes actually drop, because those people don't hit buttons. And when you have the like button right next to a poll at the bottom of the screen, the way it is, that like button is comparatively small to the giant white buttons for the poll. And people will skip over that kind of thing, just not even thinking about it because they're so busy trying to answer that question. You know,
Right.
and I mean, so yeah, if likes is a major factor, then a lot of people are going to get screwed.
Do you recall what major factors were, John?
Well, they mentioned, of course, they actually, so she pointedly mentioned follows, faves, but then she made a comment like follows, faves. I think it was follows, faves, reader engagement, overall reader activity on your stories. So likes might be underneath that, but again, to me, the fact she didn't mention likes probably means it's a lot less important. And then other than faves and follows, and basically reads, that was pretty much. Oh, and she did mention. Oh gosh, I think I saved it here somewhere. I think she mentioned basically content, how much content you put out. She did allude to that, which was interesting.
But now, is it the number of episodes or the total word count?
Let me double check how she worded it here.
Sorry, I'm picking my teeth on camera over here.
Here we go.
It's a great video. Lewis is just over here just digging in his teeth, and I need to pick my nose at some point too. Really sell it for everybody.
Yep.
Here we go. She said, stories are rewarded based on share of overall customer activity, such as faves, follows, token redemptions, and publishing activity. So that would I assume involve, making sure you're producing some new content.
But is that? But my question then becomes: is it regularly producing, or is it total amount, or is it a combination of both?
Yeah.
I mean, do they want us scheduling, or can we just throw things up? Do we get dollar amounts subtracted for us by just hitting the regular submit button, or do we make more because we schedule it, and that way it makes their job easier? I mean, what is?
Yeah,
there's a lot of things we got to know.
Ways, to interpret a lot of that, and so that's not terribly helpful. It's just, again, it's like some slightly more distinct tea leaves for us to read, right?
Yeah, I suppose.
But
they've given us a range of books that we can read to interpret the leaves differently.
Right, there you go. I like that analogy. And so they did mention the pot for October was 1.125 million. So they did up it more significantly, but
that is good. At least they're addressing that.
So that's something. Yeah. All right. So I think we've talked about numbers a little bit. Let me stop this video though, because short and sweet is better.